In the year 2400, humanity had evolved far beyond what any galactic civilization had anticipated. What had once been dismissed as a primitive war-obsessed species confined to a single blue planet had transformed into one of the most formidable forces in the galaxy. Their expansion across the stars had been swift and methodical, their technology advancing at an exponential rate that left even the most ancient civilizations scrambling to keep pace. General Dylan stood before the massive viewport of the command vessel Eternal Vigilance, watching the distant stars flicker like dying embers against the cosmic void. His silver-scaled hands gripped the railing as he contemplated the reports scattered across his desk. The Advanced Species Coalition, a union of 12 developed civilizations that had maintained peace and order in this sector for over 3 millennia, was facing its greatest existential threat: the Night Rippers. No one knew where they had come from. They appeared without warning, emerging from the dark spaces between star systems like a plague of living shadow. Whatever they touched withered and died. Instantly, planets stripped of life, entire fleets reduced to cosmic dust in mere hours. Their very presence seemed to violate the laws of physics, bending reality to their malevolent will. Jalen's communication device chimed with an urgent tone. The holographic display materialized before him, showing the trembling form of Captain Vorthak from the Outer Rim colony of Kepler 442b. "General Jalen, sir. They're gone. All of them." Vorthak's voice cracked with barely contained horror. "The entire 7th Fleet, 300 ships, 60,000 souls wiped out in a single night. We detected massive energy signatures in 300 hours, and by dawn..." The captain paused, struggling to find words. By dawn, there was nothing left but debris and death. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Jalen alone with the weight of catastrophe. He had seen the tactical reports, studied the few surviving pieces of recorded data from Night Ripper encounters. Traditional weapons were useless against them. Energy shields might as well have been tissue paper. Even their most advanced antimatter weapons barely slowed the creatures down. The Coalition's war councils had become increasingly desperate. The Zelthoran strategists suggested retreating to fortified core worlds. The Makari proposed developing new quantum weapons that might pierce their defenses. The Thylorians wanted to attempt diplomatic contact, believing the Night Rippers might be reasoned with. All naive hopes, Jalen knew. They were running out of time, resources, and options. That's when Lieutenant Commander Soren approached him with the proposal that would change everything. "General, with respect, we need to consider the unthinkable," Soren said, his crystal blue skin shimmering with nervous energy. "The humans." Jalen's 4 eyes narrowed. "Absolutely not. They're too unpredictable, too violent. We've spent centuries keeping them contained to their little corner of the galaxy for good reason. Sir, their military capabilities have grown exponentially in the past century. Their technology, while crude compared to ours, is remarkably effective. And their tactical approach to warfare is..." Soren hesitated. "Unorthodox." "You mean barbaric?" Jalen countered. "I mean successful, sir. They've resolved 3 territorial disputes in their sector through methods that no coalition member would ever consider methods that worked." Jalen turned back to the viewport, watching a Coalition patrol ship glide silently through space. How many more of those ships would be cosmic debris by week's end? How many more colonies would fall to the Night Rippers' insatiable hunger? The mathematics were brutal and simple. At the current rate of losses, the Coalition would be extinct within 6 months. Every conventional strategy had failed. Every traditional alliance had crumbled under the Night Rippers' assault. With a heavy heart that felt like it carried the weight of entire civilizations, Jalen made his decision. "Send a coded transmission to Earth, request an immediate meeting with their military leadership, and Soren..." He turned to face his aide. "Prepare for the possibility that this decision may save us all, or damn us forever." 3 days later, Jalen found himself aboard a neutral station orbiting the gas giant Titan Prime, waiting in what humans called a conference room, a stark utilitarian space that reflected their no-nonsense approach to everything. The walls were adorned only with star charts and tactical displays devoid of the artistic flourishes that decorated coalition vessels. The door slid open with a mechanical hiss, and Commander Ilara strode in with a confidence that made the air itself seem to stand at attention. She was tall by human standards, her auburn hair pulled back in a severe military style, her green eyes sharp with intelligence, and something else, hunger. Not for food or personal gain, but for challenge, for conquest, for the thrill of the impossible. Behind her walked Dr. Marcus Webb, humanity's leading xenobiologist, whose expertise in alien physiology had proven invaluable in their previous conflicts. His weathered face bore the marks of too many sleepless nights spent analyzing enemy species for weaknesses. "General Jalen," Ilara said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting, "I understand you have a problem that requires creative solutions." Jalen reluctantly grasped her hand, surprised by the firm grip. "Commander Ilara, thank you for coming. Though I confess reaching out to your species feels like making a deal with cosmic forces beyond my control." Ilara's laugh was sharp and confident. "You're not wrong. But sometimes the devil you know is preferable to the devil that's eating your worlds." Dr. Webb activated a holographic projector displaying three-dimensional images of the Night Ripper's attacks. The Coalition had managed to capture some limited footage during their encounters. Shadowy forms that seemed to shift between dimensions, leaving trails of devastation in their wake. "Fascinating," Webb murmured, his eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. "These entities appear to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Their ability to phase between physical and energy-based forms explains why conventional weapons prove ineffective. We've tried everything." Jalen admitted, his voice heavy with frustration. "Plasma cannons, quantum disruptors, even experimental temporal weapons. Nothing works. They adapt to every strategy, counter every tactic." Ilara studied the data with the focused intensity of a predator analyzing prey. "Your mistake is thinking like civilized beings. You're trying to fight them with rules, with honor, with conventional tactics. The Night Rippers don't follow any rules." "And you propose we abandon our principles?" Jalen asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "I propose you let us handle this the way humans handle existential threats," Ilara replied. "We don't fight fair. We don't fight honorably. We fight to win by any means necessary." The negotiations that followed were as intense as any battle Jalen had ever fought. Ilara's demands were steep, complete operational control over combined human coalition forces, unrestricted access to coalition technology databases, and most controversially, territorial rights to 3 resource-rich planets in coalition space. "You're asking us to essentially give you a foothold in our territory," Soren protested. "How do we know you won't simply replace the Night Rippers as a threat?" Ilara's smile was razor sharp. "Because unlike the Night Rippers we can be negotiated with, we can be allies. But we need something in return for risking human lives in your war." Dr. Webb leaned forward, his expression serious. "Commander Ilara, I've completed my preliminary analysis of the Night Ripper data. If my theories are correct, defeating them will require tactics that even we might find disturbing." "Define disturbing," Jalen said. Webb hesitated. "The Night Rippers feed on the life force of organic beings. They're essentially parasitic entities that exist by draining the bioelectric energy of living creatures. To defeat them, we would need to create a trap using massive amounts of biological matter as bait. The implications hung in the air like toxic gas." Jalen's stomach turned as he realized what Webb was suggesting. "You're talking about using sentient beings as bait," he said quietly. "Not necessarily sentient," Webb clarified, "but vast quantities of living tissue, perhaps entire ecosystems. The scale of devastation required to lure them into such a trap would be monstrous, Zaylen finished. Effective, Alara corrected. The question is, do you want to save your civilization, or do you want to maintain your moral superiority while watching everything you've built turn to ash? Zaylen stared at the tactical display showing Coalition territories being systematically consumed by the Night Rippers. Entire species were going extinct. Billions of lives hung in the balance. The mathematics of survival were cruel but undeniable. What do you need? He asked finally. The next 6 weeks transformed the nature of warfare in their sector of the galaxy. Human military advisors integrated with Coalition forces, bringing tactics that shocked and often appalled their new allies. Where Coalition strategy emphasized minimizing casualties and preserving infrastructure, human doctrine focused entirely on the destruction of the enemy. The first joint operation took place in the Helix Nebula, where a Coalition mining colony had sent a distress signal before going silent. When the combined fleet arrived, they found a world stripped of all organic life. Its cities intact but completely empty. Perfect hunting ground, Alara announced from the bridge of her flagship, the Retribution. We establish a perimeter and wait for them to return to feed on the residual life energy. And then, asked Admiral Tyson of the Coalition Third Fleet. Then we introduced them to the concept of a human trap. The humans had brought weapons that violated several Coalition treaties on ethical warfare. Biological weapons designed to rapidly multiply organic matter, nanite clouds that could reconstruct dead tissue, quantum bombs that destabilized matter at the subatomic level. This is barbaric, Lieutenant Commander Soren muttered as he watched human technicians prepare their arsenal. This is survival, Zaylen replied, though he couldn't hide his own discomfort. When the Night Rippers arrived, they came as they always did, a wave of living shadow that consumed light itself. But this time, they found something unexpected waiting for them. Dr. Webb had been correct in his analysis. The creatures were drawn to massive concentrations of life energy, like moths to flame. The humans had prepared an irresistible feast, billions of tons of rapidly replicating organic matter, all pulsing with bioelectric energy. As the Night Rippers descended to feed, human forces activated their trap. The organic matter wasn't just bait. It was laced with quantum-level viruses designed to disrupt the entity's dimensional phasing abilities. For the first time in recorded history, the Night Rippers found themselves trapped in a single-dimensional state. And in that state, they could be killed. The battle that followed was unlike anything in Coalition military history. Human forces attacked with a savage efficiency that left their alien allies stunned. They used chemical weapons that dissolved Night Ripper tissue, biological agents that corrupted their energy signatures, kinetic weapons that pulverized them before they could adapt. Most shocking of all was the humans' apparent immunity to the psychological effects that had plagued Coalition forces. Where other species felt overwhelming dread in the Night Ripper's presence, humans seemed energized by the challenge. It's remarkable, Dr. Webb observed as he analyzed battlefield data. Human neurochemistry actually responds positively to extreme threat scenarios. Our adrenaline response, our fight or flight mechanisms, they're optimized for exactly this kind of warfare. The victory at Helix Nebula was decisive but costly. 30% of Coalition forces were lost, but the Night Ripper force was completely eliminated the first time any military had achieved such a victory. News of the success spread through Coalition territory like wildfire. The impossible had happened. The Night Rippers could be defeated. But as more joint operations commenced, a new concern began to emerge. Zaylen noticed it first during the Battle of Proxima Station. Human forces had not only defeated the Night Ripper assault, but had also systematically dismantled the station's defensive systems that had nothing to do with the creatures they were fighting. Commander Alara, he confronted her after the battle. Your forces destroyed more than just Night Rippers today. Alara's expression remained neutral. We eliminated all potential threats to operational security. Those defensive platforms were coalition property protecting a coalition trade route. We're being the operative phrase. Now they're in more capable hands. The pattern became clear over subsequent engagements. Every human victory came with subtle territorial expansion. Critical infrastructure somehow ended up under human control. Strategic resources were temporarily requisitioned for the war effort and never returned. Dr. Webb seemed increasingly uncomfortable with these developments. During a private meeting with Jalen, he revealed his growing concerns. "General, I fear we've created a monster of our own. Commander Alara's strategies are undeniably effective against the Night Rippers, but she's also positioning humanity to dominate this sector once the war ends." "Can you prove this?" Jalen asked. Webb activated a holographic display showing human fleet movements over the past month. "Look at these patterns. Every engagement leaves human forces in advantageous positions. They're not just fighting the Night Rippers, they're conquering coalition space one battle at a time." Jalen felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him like the gravity of a neutron star. He had invited humanity into coalition territory to save his people from the Night Rippers. But in doing so, had he simply traded one existential threat for another? The crisis came during the Battle of Kepler Prime, the most heavily defended world in coalition space and the political center of their union. Intelligence had indicated a massive Night Ripper force was approaching the system, possibly their main hive or command structure. Every available ship from both human and coalition forces converged on Kepler Prime for what many believed would be the final battle of the war. The orbital defenses of the planet were formidable energy shields capable of protecting entire continents. Weapon platforms that could destroy fleets with single shots, and a garrison of over 2 million coalition troops. The Night Rippers came not as a fleet, but as a living storm, billions of entities moving in perfect synchronization like cells in a vast organism. The space around Kepler Prime turned black as they blotted out the stars themselves. "All forces, this is Commander Alara." The human leader's voice echoed across every communication channel. "Execute Protocol Omega." Jalen felt his blood run cold. He had never heard of Protocol Omega. As the battle commenced, human forces performed with their usual ruthless efficiency. But something was different this time. They weren't just fighting the Night Rippers, they were systematically targeting coalition command ships and communication hubs. "Alara, what are you doing?" Jalen demanded over the tactical channel. Winning the war, General, sometimes victory requires difficult choices. The horrible truth became clear as the battle progressed. The humans had developed a weapon specifically designed to destroy the Night Rippers' command structure, a quantum cascade bomb that would destabilize the entities across multiple dimensions simultaneously. But the weapon's range was massive, and its effects would be felt across the entire Kepler system, including Kepler Prime itself. "You're going to destroy the planet," Jalen realized with horror. "I'm going to save the galaxy," Alara corrected. The Night Rippers' main consciousness is embedded in Kepler Prime's core. They've been using it as an anchor point for their interdimensional existence. Destroy that anchor, and we destroy them all. There are 8 billion coalition citizens on that planet. There will be 0 citizens anywhere if we don't win this war. Dr. Webb's voice cut through the chaos of battle communications. "General Jalen, I've been analyzing Alara's data. She's partially correct. The Night Rippers do appear to have some kind of command node in the planet's core. But the weapon she's planning to use, it will indeed eliminate them, but the secondary effects will render the entire system uninhabitable for centuries." Jalen found himself facing the most agonizing decision of his life. Allow Alara to proceed with her plan and save the galaxy by sacrificing billions of coalition citizens, or prevent the weapon's deployment and risk the Night Rippers' victory. "Alara, stand down. We'll find another way." "There is no other way, General. This is war. People die in war." The coalition fleet began moving to intercept the human vessels carrying the quantum bombs. For a few terrifying moments, it seemed that the Alliance would destroy itself in the midst of battle against their common enemy. Then, Dr. Webb spoke again, his voice cutting through the tension with scientific precision. Wait, I think there might be a third option. Commander Ilarantum, what if we could isolate the command node? Extract it from the planet's core before detonation. Impossible. The energy required to maintain a stable extraction would require the combined power output of every ship in both our fleets. Webb continued. But it could work. We create a controlled quantum tunnel extract, the node into space, then detonate it away from the planet. Alara paused, her tactical mind analyzing the proposal. The risk is enormous. If the extraction fails, the resulting implosion could destroy not just Kepler Prime, but everything in a 3 light-year radius. And if we do nothing, the Night Rippers consume everything anyway, Jalen pointed out. The decision was made in the heat of battle, with Night Ripper entities pouring through space like a living plague. Human and coalition forces worked together with desperate efficiency, rerouting power from every non-essential system to create the most ambitious quantum engineering project in galactic history. The extraction began as the Night Rippers reached Kepler Prime's upper atmosphere. Reality itself seemed to bend as massive energies tore through space-time. The planet shuddered, its crust cracking as something ancient and malevolent was ripped from its core. For a moment, the Night Rippers seemed to pause their coordinated assault, faltering as their command structure was disrupted. Then, as the extracted node was hurled into open space, Alara's quantum bombs detonated. The explosion was visible from neighboring star systems, a brilliant nova of destruction that wiped the Night Ripper command node from existence. Across the galaxy, every Night Ripper entity simply ceased to exist. Their dimensional anchors, severed, their parasitic existence ended. The war was over. Humanity and the Coalition had achieved the impossible. But victory came with a price that would reshape galactic politics forever. In the aftermath of the battle, as rescue operations commenced across devastated worlds, Jalen found himself face to face with Alara one final time. The human commander stood on the observation deck of a Coalition medical frigate, watching the reconstruction efforts on Kepler Prime. "We did it," she said simply. "The galaxy is safe. From the Night Rippers, yes. But what about from you?" Alara turned to face him, and for the first time in their acquaintance, her expression showed something other than calculated confidence. "General, my species has a saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. You faced an existential threat and asked for our help. We provided it, and claimed half of Coalition space in the process. We claimed what we needed to ensure the victory stuck. The Night Rippers weren't the only threat in this galaxy, General. There are other species out there, some more dangerous than others. Humanity is now in a position to ensure that nothing like the Night Rippers ever threatens civilized space again." Jalen studied the human commander, trying to understand her species' complex motivations. "And the Coalition? What happens to us? You adapt, you evolve. You join us in building something better than either of our civilizations could create alone." Dr. Webb approached them, his scientific instruments still humming with data from the recent battle. "General, I've completed my analysis of the quantum extraction. The technology we developed here, it could revolutionize interdimensional travel energy production, even our understanding of consciousness itself. Technology that humanity now controls," Jalen observed. "Technology that humanity and the Coalition developed together," Alara corrected. "We're offering full partnership, not conquest. Share our knowledge, combine our resources, and together we can explore the galaxy in ways neither of us could imagine." Lieutenant Commander Soren joined them on the observation deck, his crystal blue skin now bearing scars from the final battle. "General, I've been reviewing the post-war territorial agreements. The humans, they're actually offering very generous terms: full Coalition autonomy, shared technology development, mutual defense pacts." "And," Jalen prompted, and they're asking for less than they could simply take. Their fleet outnumbers ours 3-1 now. They could dictate terms if they wanted to. Alara smiled, not her usual predatory grin, but something warmer and more genuine. General Jalen, my species learned long ago that lasting peace can't be built on conquest alone. It requires partnership, respect, and sometimes making difficult choices for the greater good. Dr. Webb nodded in agreement. The quantum entanglement we created during the extraction process, it's linked our civilizations in ways that run deeper than politics or territory. We're bound together now, whether we like it or not. Jalen looked out at the stars, contemplating the new reality they had all helped create. The coalition was changed forever, its ancient traditions and careful diplomacy replaced by humanity's more aggressive but undeniably effective approach to galactic challenges. Yet perhaps that change was inevitable. The universe was vast and full of wonders and terrors that required bold action to face. The Night Rippers had been defeated not through traditional coalition methods, but through human innovation and ruthlessness. Very well, Jalen said finally. But understand this, Commander Alara, the coalition may adapt to your methods, but we won't abandon our principles entirely. This partnership will work both ways. Humanity will learn something from us as well. I wouldn't expect anything less, General. After all, you're the ones who had the courage to ask for help when you needed it most. That takes a kind of strength that my species respects. As they stood together watching the reconstruction of worlds scarred by war, the future seemed both uncertain and full of possibility. Humanity had proven itself to be exactly what every other species had feared: unpredictable, violent, and capable of unthinkable destruction. But they had also proven to be loyal allies when treated with respect and capable of incredible sacrifice for the greater good. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where humanity and the coalition would face whatever challenges emerged from the cosmic dark together. Whether that partnership would lead to unprecedented prosperity or new forms of conflict remained to be seen. But for now, the Night Rippers were gone. Life continued and hope endured among the stars. In the months that followed, integration between human and coalition societies proceeded with surprising smoothness. Dr. Webb's predictions proved accurate. The quantum entanglement created during the final battle had effects far beyond the purely physical. Communication between species became easier, misunderstandings fewer, and a genuine sense of shared purpose emerged. Human innovation combined with coalition wisdom created technologies that neither could have developed alone. Quantum navigation systems that could traverse the galaxy in days rather than months. Terraforming devices that could turn barren worlds into gardens in decades. Medical advances that extended life and enhanced the quality of existence for all sentient species. Yet challenges remained. Some coalition members struggled to adapt to humanity's more direct approach to problem solving. Certain human factions pressed for more aggressive expansion and resource extraction than their new allies considered wise. But when reports came in of strange signals from the galactic rim, possible indicators of another extragalactic threat, the response was swift and unified. Human ships carrying coalition scientists launched investigation missions within days. The partnership that had been forged in the crucible of war was proving resilient in peace. General Jalen, now serving as coalition liaison to the Joint Command structure, often reflected on the choice he had made in seeking salvation from the most feared species in the galaxy. He had not just saved his civilization, he had transformed it. The galaxy was safer now, protected by the combined might and wisdom of two very different approaches to survival. And while the future remained uncertain, it no longer felt hopeless. In the end, sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected sources. Sometimes survival requires embracing change, even when that change seems dangerous or impossible. And sometimes the species you fear most becomes the ally you need most. The Night Rippers were gone, defeated by the very ferocity they had sought to consume. In their place, a new alliance had risen, one built on mutual respect, shared sacrifice, and the understanding that in a universe full of wonders and terrors, no species could survive alone. As Jalen often told younger officers who asked about the war, we turned to the most feared species in the galaxy, not because we had a choice, but because we had no other choice. And in doing so, we discovered that sometimes our greatest enemies can become our greatest allies if we have the courage to trust them with our survival. The stars continued their ancient dance, but now they danced to a rhythm set by two species who had learned that together they could face anything the universe might throw at them. The age of humanity and the Coalition had begun, and with it, a new chapter in the story of galactic civilization.